Hi, I'm Matt, and this is Firearms Policy Coalition, bringing you another weekly update, just to make sure you guys have all of the latest information on everything affecting your right to keep and bear arms. It's been another week of stay-at-home orders and shutdowns, presumably with more to come. But as we've come to learn, the other side can work from home too. So let's get straight into it. Now, first up, this week we saw an Ohio appeals court determine that for teachers to be able to carry on school grounds, they must undergo a minimum of 728 hours of training. Why this massive amount? Well, that's because that's what the court interpreted to be police levels of training. Now, contrast this with DOJ numbers, which estimate that cops around the country spend a mere 110 hours training with firearms and only 8 hours on conflict management and mediation.
Here's my license. Why don't you come get it? Drop the knife. F you. I said, drop the knife. Oh, okay, just kidding.
Now, you and I both know the 728-hour number is garbage. This clearly isn't to ensure school guardians are skilled. It's to discourage teachers from enrolling in the program, and thus to ensure there are no armed teachers. Now, maybe we'll see the school appeal the decision to the Ohio Supreme Court to come to a less insane ruling. Next up, let's talk about our old friend, the Golden State, where Governor Newsom and his buddies seem to have been so busy trying to implement new anti-gun laws, they forgot to enforce those on the books already. According to numbers from California's Armed Prohibited Person System, as of January 1st of this year, over 22,000 prohibited people were in possession of firearms, down only a few hundred from last year. Now, I feel like these numbers and a quarter will buy you a gumball. That is to say, they're worthless. It doesn't tell us anything about safety, violence, or real criminality. It does show, though, that California, with all their extant firearms prohibition, aren't doing anything about keeping firearms out of the hands of the prohibited people. Will more stupid laws help? You tell me. In other news, the National Council to Control Handguns, now known as the Brady campaign, are trying to flip seats in upcoming Texas elections. Other gun control groups, like Everytown, have also committed millions in campaign funding to try to spread their tentacly reach out into the suburbs. Now, speaking of our friends at Brady and Everytown, they've recently done some legal analysis regarding COVID-19 related shutdowns of gun stores. This was in a desperate attempt to provide some shaky legal support for the idea that the government can completely shut off a constitutionally protected industry. Now, the quality of their legal reasoning is rivaled only by the finest first-year law students and by the writing skill of a DC pigeon I once saw carrying a crayon. Next up, I'm sorry to report that your Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure took a blow in the Supreme Court case of Kansas v. Glover. In Glover, the court decided it's okay for police to pull over a vehicle owned by somebody with a suspended driver's license, even if they can't confirm the vehicle is being driven by that person. Now, you might at first think, well, what's wrong with that? Everything. The Fourth Amendment stands for the proposition that police cannot detain you without a reasonable, articulable suspicion that you have done something wrong. Running a number through a computer and having that computer spit out a result that a license plate is connected to a suspended driver's license should not justify a stop until the officer reasonably knows that that person is the one driving the car. Now, if you think this loosening of standard doesn't affect us gun owners, you couldn't be further from the truth. The Fourth Amendment, it protects our right to be secure in our person, in our house, our papers, and our effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. If you live in a state famously hostile to civilian gun ownership, that means additional unwarranted interactions with police will more often lead to searches and then harassment of gun owners. All right, now let's check up on our buddies in San Francisco. Let me ask you a hypothetical here. In a situation where people have a rational fear of civil unrest and that the government will not be able to help them, do you think the people might purchase products that could give them a little security? All right, well, now if they did purchase those products, would you call the purchase of those products panicked? Well, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors would, because these purchases of guns ahead of the COVID-19 panic absolutely freaked them the hell out. So they've responded with a resolution to study, by the way, being tyrant for generate propaganda, to warn us peasants of the danger of not strictly bending to the whims of the ruling class. I'm hugely annoyed by characterizations of new gun purchasers as panicked. Buying a gun is a rational choice in the face of a real threat to security, but we know our friends can never let a good spin go unspun. You can take action against this ridiculous move on firearmspolicy.org or check the links in the write-up to this post. So anyway, let's go on over to Trin for the shooting. Well, anyway, now that we've got the chairs all moved over, let's get Trin's opinion. Trinity, what's your opinion of all the stuff that's been happening in the news over the past week?
Well, I think that's a bunch of bullshit, but I really like this AK-74.
Well, I agree, and with an opinion like that, I think you're well overqualified for government work. Well, guys, that's it for this week. Remember to check out fpcgear.com. We've got all of our merch, and you can check out the shirts, stickers, patches, decoy dogs. All the stuff you guys like to buy, we've got it. As always, keep your eyes on Firearms Policy Coalition. We're keeping up the fight for all of your rights all the time. I've been Matt LaRosiere.
And I've been Trinity.
And we'll see you real soon.
Delete all the footage. Burn it all.
You're good.